Hi, friends. Hi, welcome back. It's Christopher and
Angela.
from the Dinosaur Omelet. Welcome in. We are live here. So if you guys are new, we do routine lives, usually weekly, educational courses. Tonight we're going to be talking about the top 5 pitfalls or challenges in starting a new homestead. The things that become, that can become obstacles if you don't plan for them properly. So we're going to talk about that. And yeah, if you're new here, feel free to stop in each week. If you have an idea for something you want to learn about, let us know. We'll do that. I'm recording on this top tier iPhone. That's my studio equipment, an iPhone on a stick. So, yeah, man, stop on in and ask questions. We have lots of educational stuff, wife.
Yes, we do.
Yes, we do. Yeah, and a little bit about us if you're new. We've been doing raising the Coturnix quail. Well, we've been here for doing our animal husbandry for 3 years, 4 years.
4 years now, almost. Yeah.
Time flew by.
4 years.
So 4 years. Yeah, and our main focus is our jumbo Coturnix quail, which we raised and teach people about for, what do you call it, self-sufficiency, right? Meat and eggs?
Yeah, they're ideal for producing meat and eggs in a small space, especially if you're not able to have chickens, or if you do have chickens. Either way, they're very productive. Definitely.
Oh, we could go on for hours about these wonderful birds.
Yeah,
right?
and then we overall encourage people to become more self-sufficient in an efficient way, which is why we always talk about the quail. But we also encourage people to do gardens and chickens and have a layered system, however that looks for you.
Redundancy.
Yeah.
So if one thing fails or they're not producing, you still have a backup system. So chickens, quails, rabbits, duckies, whatever animals you might have, a redundancy system. But one thing at a time, and we're going to talk about that, and that's pretty important. What else was I going to say in this introduction? I don't know. These are always on the fly. Anything else very important? Oh, I forgot. Yeah, the thing I wanted to say is in the description, I always tell people, check it out, man. I put a good bunch of links. That's all stuff we make from scratch. It's none of that pre-made internet stuff, no copy and paste. And all the stuff we write is from our experience in education. So we wish to share that with you. And it costs how much? Nothing! That's right. Currently free. I don't know. I'll start charging in the future once I get popular, if that ever happens. But right now, that info is free, and it's really good stuff. 25 quail. Where's that thing? Quail raising checklist. It answers the top 25, I think, most common startup questions for quail. So you can read that and pretty much be up and running, yeah?
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't need to go take millions of hours of
courses. You could be brand new to quail, or you could be experienced with animals, and that info is pretty helpful.
Yeah, if you guys have any questions or comments or anything, stick them in the bottom in here, and we'll be happy to address it. We don't have 8 million people on our channel. We're pretty teeny tiny, so we always get to everybody with their questions. All right, now, before we jump into this fascinating subject, do you have any last words of anything important to say?
I don't think so.
Well, neither do I. So I guess we'll go into this. All right. So tonight we're going to be talking about navigating. Well, my title is Navigating the Homestead Journey. Top 5 pitfalls to avoid. We may talk about a couple more, but I want to go over the 5 biggies, I think, in our opinion and at our level. So we have a small homestead, and if you guys aren't running a giant agribusiness like hundreds of acres or whatever, this might pertain to you. If you're running a huge giant agribusiness, well, welcome. Nice to see you. We're a tiny quail place. But so these are extremely important considerations. So if you guys are moving out of the cities, or you bought a piece of property, or you just want to do something different this year, the important thing that you need to pay attention to, we always talk about this, is the number one thing on here. What is it?
It's proper planning.
Proper planning, right?
Yeah.
You got to plan.
Getting started correctly, the best you can.
Correct. So what's happening when we jump into things we like? What do?
Oh, we're super excited, and maybe we're not thinking about all the details. If it's a living creature, an animal, or a plant, we may not be considering all of the needs that it would require to be happy and healthy and thrive. And we may not be thinking about our role in caring for, tending to that living plant or or creature.
And we don't know exactly why we have the living plant or creature. You know, you're buying chickens, and our minds are in different places. One, it might be an emotional thing, like, oh, the kids are really going to like this. And the other might be, oh, I really want to get some eggs. Or, oh, it's nice to have these animals around just to have the whole ambiance of the little farm. So know what your objectives are. And I mean, a chicken can satisfy multiple objectives. Sure, it can do all those things. But you want to have a clear idea of what your plan is. A basic general plan, like overall what you're doing. And then as things progress and you're changing and you're adopting more activities, have a plan for each thing. Like we have quail, but we had a plan for the quail. We have bunny rabbits. They were part of the whole little house, and they had a specific plan for them, how we were going to raise them, what their objective was, right? Part of planning is objectives.
Yeah, and if you're establishing your why are you pursuing this, what are your goals for any particular item or topic, then it's going to be the most satisfying experience that you're going to go through, because you're going to stay focused on the why and your goals, even if it's a simple thing as having chickens to produce eggs. Then you're going to, like, if at any point life maybe gets difficult or challenging for whatever reason, and maybe for a season it's a little bit more difficult to care for animals or care for plants or whatever, then you can focus on your why again. Why am I doing this? What's my goal? And then that'll help you push through any obstacles and focus on that plan.
Let me do metaphor, or not even a metaphor, an example. It's like when you get a new job and they drag you into orientation and they go over that spiel with their philosophy or core values. These are our core values. Now, why are they talking about the core values? You know, so everybody knows we have a central kind of unified objective. So even in that kind of setting. So yeah, we have a set of core values down here at the dinosaur that we follow, or objectives. I want to say hi to our friends. Yes. Susan dropped in. I hope you're feeling well. Steve, I remembered your name actually. I was going to say, oh, way deep inside. That's Steve. He's the purple circle. So thanks for coming in, guys. Appreciate the comment. It's good to hear the valuable content you share. Oh, Jeezy Weezy. Thank you. Yeah, we try to make some of this useful because we're dealing, like I said, man, we're dealing with a lot of new people.
Hello.
Is that Maricia? Is that how it is? Seaweed?
Yeah.
Hey, hon. How are you? So yeah, there's a lot of people who are new to homesteading, or even if they're not new, they may just be first generation people who haven't done this before. Hey Bill, good evening, how are you? So first generation, they don't have the familial history to rely on and that knowledge to tap into. So we really hope that at least we can provide a little bit of information to some new people. Don't be scared. All right, when you're doing something new, don't be afraid. Jump in, but get the ammunition you need to win, which is some knowledge and then experience.
And we're talking about homesteading in particular, but the things that we are discussing tonight really can be implemented in any topic, anything, like any focus that you want to achieve, for the most part. So,
That's
like,
correct.
I mean, if you want to, be healthy or learn something new or whatever, these things would help you with that.
All right, so I'm going to move on. Number one, we talked about proper planning. I mean, that should be self-evident, but it's not cognizant with us many times when we're excited, emotional, and we're thinking about doing stuff. We're just like, let's go. Like when women get those big, nice weddings, they hire a wedding planner, don't they? Because there's so many things to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and sometimes we'll think, oh, I know that I should think about these certain details pertaining to what I'm doing. The chickens I'm buying, the chicks that I'm buying, or the plants that I'm buying, or whatever. I'll get to the details, maybe in a week or so. Let me just get this stuff figured out, and then before you know it, time goes by, and you never really figured out those details. And like I said already, if you end up getting to a point in life where things are just a little challenging and you don't have those details figured out for yourself, it can really weigh you down. So you want to be excited and stay strong and focused on what's motivating you to do what you're doing. So that proper planning, establishing why you're doing, what you're pursuing, and setting those goals to achieve, that'll really set you up and your animals or your plants to thrive and do well.
Yeah, and if you're an exceptionally bored person, we did a video on this about the small business aspect of like what we do here, where we talked about the goal setting and the planning. I don't want to go on tangents about that, but there is another video where we talk in depth about goal setting. All that stuff's very, very important. I mean, like, that's why I'm going nuts about that. That really needs to be stressed. Plan things, because there's a lot of different aspects of your planning. It's not just what you want to do, it's the logistics of it, the time of it, time frame, life events that may intervene, or whatever's happening, financial, etc. Okay, moving on. Number 2. This is pertaining to the homestead, overlooking the infrastructure and your infrastructural needs. Okay, such as what? Like electricity, electrical needs. Are you going to be able to service your facility with the current electric? What else?
Yeah, the shelter. If you have animals, and maybe they're babies and they're tiny and they're just so adorable and you can hold them and you know, it's like, oh, you got some time for them to grow. Well, you want to consider their shelter, their housing, the fencing ahead of time, because again, time, you know, does fly by sometimes, and you want to make sure you're prepared and ready for the next step.
This will drive you crazy if you guys are getting new into this and you have animals and you bought a house that's good now. Like, okay, great, I have 3 little chickens and they fit in this junky house I bought off of Amazon. Well, all of a sudden, in a few months, you want 4 or 5 more chickens, or somebody gives them to you, and then you try to jam them in your junky little Amazon house, and then the little Amazon house starts deteriorating because we had a couple of those, and they kind of tend to fall apart quick. But
maybe a predator like makes a hole in it or something.
Yes. So in the beginning, like, it makes sense to get this little small structure's fine. But in the future, especially if you plan on keeping it for a while, you know, that's just one example of something that can deteriorate, and maybe you should have planned a future casted for a little more specifically. And you have other, go ahead.
I was going to say also the plants. What about your garden? Like preparing the soil, your beds, wherever the plant's going to go. Maybe you have your seeds and you have seedlings going now inside. And maybe you're getting ready to plant them outside. That's something, infrastructure, that you want to think about, like where your plant's going to be going and how you're going to be taking care of them.
Mauricia, she's a gardener, I'm pretty sure. Is she not? Like, you need to know your soil amendments. If you're trying to, like, our soil was a pile of rocks and clay. It was great if you were growing rocks and cactuses. So we had to amend the soil, and that took, it took a season, but it took a while. But, if you have no knowledge of gardening, composting. Yeah, right, man. Composting. Yeah. We have a fabulous compost pile. I gotta go turn the compost pile, actually.
Yeah, but these things are all very important to not overlook, because going back to step 1, proper planning and looking at this includes infrastructure and just the basic needs of whatever you're pursuing, which will help things go smoothly.
Mature plant size too. Yeah. Oh my God, you're right, because everything will grow together.
And taking care, having space to move around the plants.
Well, I like what Susan mentioned, because I did that the first year. The tomatoes are this big, and then you put the other one right next to it that big, and they look happy. And then 2 months later, they're both dead because they grew into each other and there's no flow.
Or even staking the plants. So here's something like that we learned. Maybe you put you think you're putting a nice size stake in for a certain type. Yeah, a certain type of tomato plants. Maybe you put in like a 4-foot stake, and you're like, oh, this is great. The plant's real small and got plenty of feet to go yet to grow. And then once you hit the growing season, then they just they keep going, and then all of a sudden you're changing the stake out to higher and higher and higher. But maybe if you put the right size in from the start, it might look silly because the plant's small, but from the start, then that stake is done. You don't have to tend to it, replace it.
Yeah, if you guys are new, any of these new endeavors you're doing, there are people out there who can give you answers and help guide you in the direction and what you might need to set up. And as far as overlooking infrastructure needs, another important thing with that is not overbuilding, like where you have this huge whatever it is for your animals, goat pen, chicken houses, and all this in this giant structure, which is way more than you need to, which that's easy to do. Yeah. To I need this gigantic this thing for that, and just a little planning, a little research. But the infrastructure is important. Fencing, water systems, they freeze, they leak.
How
they get
far?
clogged.
How far do you have to take the water to? Do you have hoses to take water to fill up water buckets? Are you carrying water buckets? That sort of
Yeah, if you
how
have
far away are you traveling?
large livestock, like if you guys are doing small things, that's cool. But people with large amount of the livestock, there are hundreds of gallons of water.
Yeah.
In the summer, and that if you're feeding off of a little well, you may be going dry. So you got to know your water. But at that level, you're probably getting some input professionally about how to set things up.
Yeah.
Number 3, I kind of wanted to say that for the end, but we'll do it now.
Yeah, and everything ties in, like they all tie in really well together.
What happens if you have to go away? Oh, right, man.
That is a very good question and something to consider. Yeah.
Yeah.
And what kinds of animals or plants or what do you have on your homestead or farm? Yeah, and what type of person will you need to help you?
It's common knowledge that nobody goes on a vacation when they got all those animals. Whoops. Sorry, Kate. Late. Oh, sorry, late. Hi, Kelly.
Kelly.
Not late. This is not
okay.
like a business interview. Yeah, but you're right, Marissa. This vacation, like we want to go take a trip and it requires planning.
Or you get sick. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, do you have a space to put a sick animal in to separate from the others? A little medical area. Had to get the farmyard situated for bed. Yeah, I did that just before we started here.
Yeah, we've been starting a half hour late because the sunlight is staying out later, thank goodness, which is nice. So, the infrastructure stuff. But moving on to number 3, which I was going to say for last, but we do now. Self-care, okay? You have all these things you're doing, all these new stressors, all these new obligations and responsibilities, and they're competing for your time.
And energy.
And this thing needs to get done, and this thing needs to get done, and then you're like, oh, you know what, I want to get a goat, and then that thing needs to get done.
And all of these things are alive, so they require regular care, daily care.
Yeah. Right, and so do you.
Yeah.
Probably more, because if you're not around, the animals aren't around.
Yeah.
So you got to take care of the self. So what does that mean, neglecting self-care? It sounds kind of hopey-dopey or whatever, but it's quite important, as everybody here knows. Stress will drive you down a tube and bring you into all kinds of problems, depressions, fighting, arguing, like it manifests in many different ways.
It'll start to like make your vision go much more like tunnel vision, where you might, if you're too stressed, you're not taking care of yourself, then it can be easy to like not be thinking about your whys, your goals anymore, because you're just like, you're getting burned out. You're spreading yourself too thin.
Yeah.
And it's difficult to have proper perspective in that situation. So it's very important to take care of yourself, your health, your mental well-being, being social. Did you have something you wanted to say with that?
No, it's just something I'm very huge on. Okay, I'm close to 50. I'm not on any medication. I don't have any chronic issues, no pains. It's because I made self-care a priority back when I was younger, 20, 30. I was like, okay, none of the drugs, none of the goofy crap. And then when I had kids, I'm like, man, I want to be able to go biking and hiking with these kids when they're 20 and 25. And then I want to take the grandkids out and be able to do something. And then I want to take the great-grandkids out and go mountain climbing. Maybe not that much. But self-care is very important because it's going to fortify your mental health. So I always like to say there's no magic bullet. There's no one thing that's going to make you healthy. There's no one technique that's going to make you at ease and with peace. Okay, it's cumulative, and there's many aspects of life that we need to address that are going to have that cumulative effect. It's going to bring your health, your mental well-being, decrease stress, and that really needs to be prioritized along with planning your facility. Number one is also self-care, because you will get burned out. How many kids do you have? I have 3 kids and 9 grandkids. Oh, wow, man. I produced 2 humans. I have 2 children. I like babies, though. I always say when I finally drop dead and they stick me up in heaven, I want to go work at the nursery and be with all the babies and take them hiking and going out to the water and just have a nice time. Because I like kids. Very important to me, kids.
I think Susan had given a comment.
Susan said, that's what I meant by get sick. A plan in place for times when you can't is important. That's correct. Yeah, ma'am. I had the coronavirus. Remember that?
Yeah,
was kind of for, like,
I had
a
to
month.
do. I was out there. It was when he had the coronavirus, and there was snow everywhere all of a sudden. So then I had to go out and shovel and take care of all the animals.
And I got to read my book and sit and relax, but I was dying, so it was kind of okay, but not okay.
Yeah. Anyway.
So
Yeah.
self-care, man. Really, and outside of the whole homesteading thing, just take care of yourselves. I mean, God, there's so much going on in the world, and there's so much time that we waste, and so much time that's taken, and it flies by. Do something to take care of yourself. Make one little change. One little change will make a huge difference, because then it'll be, I've always talked about this, it becomes a self-reinforcing feedback loop. One good thing feeds to another good thing, and so on and so forth. It's like your mindset. If you have a bad, negative disposition about everything, everything's going to be bad and negative.
Yeah.
All right?
One of
Oh,
my favorite
my
Americans.
favorite American.
Hi.
Oh, man. Flyer Dad. I know your name. I forget your name, but it was on our Facebook.
From
I think.
Netherlands.
Yes,
Yeah.
from the Netherlands. My cousin over the Netherlands. All right, so self-care, tip-top important. Eat right, sleep right, plan things right, take time for yourself. Don't let the animals drive you crazy, etc., etc. I think that's mostly understood, but all this stuff is self-evident and logical, but we need to be cognizant of it. I put 54 little chicks in the incubator today.
Oh, awesome.
Awesome, 54.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. That's
There was a
good.
club called Studio 54 back in the 70s.
Oh.
She's not from the 70s.
No, I'm not.
Yeah, Studio 54. All right, neglecting self-care. So talked about proper planning, infrastructure needs, self-care, and did you want to mumble something real quick?
No, I'm just going on to the
Okay. Oh, cool. Number 4, very important one. This is a time eater. We're just talking about self-care and not being stressed. Well, here's some more stress. Maintenance. Understand your maintenance needs, okay?
Yeah. And don't underestimate it.
So
Yeah.
what is maintenance in your homestead? Oh my gosh, there's so much stuff that you not even think of it. Like just recently, rain runoff, washing out your flower beds, deterioration, upkeep of fences, chickens break things, animals and predators will rip holes in the things, trees fall and smash up fences. There's always
Depending
something.
on the animals that you have, maybe feet need to be trimmed on bigger animals. Plants need to be, pruned.
I'm not
hungry. Good for you, Bill. But yeah, there's things that have to be taken care of on a regular basis, yearly, throughout the year. I think a lot of us that fall. What does that say? I think a lot of us that fall.
That's a Kelly. She's a pretty Kelly. She misspelled something.
Oh, I'm sorry, Kelly. Into the self-sufficiency category aren't high maintenance.
Oh, right. Yeah, because you're too sweaty, dirty, and smelly
Yeah.
after a long day. Like, I'm going to bed.
Yeah.
Maintenance.
But yeah, even the plants, the garden vegetables, the vegetable plants, you have, trimming the plants, pruning them so that they're fruitful, that they're producing as much as possible. They're not getting super leggy. Like, that's a maintenance thing. And if those things are overlooked, then
I love this. I really like this because for the new people, new homesteaders, it's a total lifestyle change.
yeah.
And you're like, oh my God, I got to keep up with all this stuff. I got to do this and that. Why? And you need to adapt to it. And you do adapt, like, because you're implementing your self-care, you're not letting the stress get to you. You do adapt to these things that need to be done constantly. But it's a really cool lifestyle change.
But if those things, if you fall behind on those things, then you're going to see a decrease in productivity in yourself and your homestead, your farm, your animals, your plants. It's going to affect their health and how they're living as well. I wear makeup to church or date night, laugh out loud, and not much. T-shirts, leggings, messy bun.
And no makeup.
Yeah, I actually make a point to minorly do makeup regularly, just
She never
for
lets me
me
do it.
and for him. Like, we don't go anywhere.
She won't let me cut her hair or put the makeup on her face.
Otherwise, like, I just wouldn't. I just do it for myself. Yeah, and that's a well-being thing.
I told her I would be a really good makeup artist because I do cartoons. I draw stuff all the time, and I'd be able to paint it on your face like I painted on my little cartoons.
Taking care of these birds is strangely stress reducing to me. Oh, that's
Oh,
great.
that's great. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I guess it is therapeutic.
It is.
Because you got your mind centered.
Yeah.
Like, I like tedious things that I can focus. Well, you know how my brain works.
And then the routine things, they do help. I wear makeup to QuailCon, though, or for YouTube videos. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah.
And maintain yourself. Maintain your structures. But new guys, this is awesome because you're not used to this. Like, if you're coming from an apartment or maybe a single family home in a community where you didn't deal with this stuff, and all of a sudden, it's cool because you have this mindset of like what you see on the TV. People still watch the TV. It's like what you see on the TV. Oh, what a cute little farm. I want to get that. But they don't show you all the shoveling of feces, the processing of animals,
fixing the fences,
the fixing of stuff. The middle of the night rainstorms where you have to wake up at 3 o'clock to go do something because there's a flood somewhere in an animal patch.
The freezing of the water during the wintertime because maybe your heaters, maybe you don't have heaters yet, or because you didn't plan for that, or maybe they broke and now you're having to go out and do fresh water. Yeah.
And again, guys, these things are extremely common for new homesteaders, people with little farmettes or whatever you're doing, or even whatever. It's your hobby. You're doing a new thing. These problems are extremely common. So the reason we're talking about them, and they seem probably like common sense, and they are, but just be aware, before you start.
The hope it didn't flood there was nasty down the mountain from me. I think some areas.
Flood. It got to the thing where there's stones and stuff in the street, but not horrible.
Yeah. Do you have hurricanes there?
Nope.
Not where we are. Yeah.
The Netherlands have hurricanes. You guys can't have hurricanes. You have these beautiful windmills. Those things would be destroyed.
Yeah, we're pretty safe away from the coast. So.
We're also in a valley.
Yeah.
So we're protected from the wind here.
Yeah.
All right. So we talked about understanding maintenance. Number 5. Ooh, there's a 6th one too. I did have an extra one. Number 5. Taking on too much at once. That's a huge issue.
Netherlands is below sea level, so we fight the flood all the time.
Oh, that's right.
Wow.
Oh my God, I forget. The little boy puts his hand in the dike to keep the water from flooding the Netherlands. I don't know if it has to be a story over there, but over here in the United States, we learned about, I forget his name. He puts his finger in the leaking dike to prevent the flood. So we actually play a board game about the dikes in the Netherlands.
It's called Lowlands. It's super cute. You should look it up. The art is very pretty, and you have sheepies that you're raising. You're raising sheeps, and you're adding to the dike to keep the water from coming in and flooding and compromising your flocks of sheep. Yeah.
So number 5, taking on too much at once.
I think it would be herds of sheep. I'm so used to talking about poultry. I live in a densely populated city. Taking care and enjoying my calm poultry is therapeutic and fun for me. Yeah.
Is that Steve?
I think so.
It is Steve. Yeah, man. It is therapeutic.
Good.
I like pig farming. I have my pet pig.
As a single
I technically call it pig farming when I walk around with her and pet her, but I became a pig farmer. She's not going to be eaten. She's my pet. Okay, so taking on too much at once, that's again, not just planning. I think this goes into the whole enthusiasm and inexperience realm. So, I want to do, and a friend of mine did the same thing. He's like, we got this new farmette. I'm going to get chickens. I'm going to get a pig. I'm going to get this. I'm going to get that. I was like, well, do you have time to build all the fences, put the structures in? Are you paying somebody to do it?
Yeah.
And have you had experience working with all these animals and their needs and the amount of time invested for each of these creatures? Not to discourage you from doing it, but realizing your enthusiasm is awesome, but you don't want to counter your enthusiasm with demoralizing yourself by doing too much all at one time.
And this even plants, gardening, it's so easy with little seedlings
weeds
and
to
be like, oh my gosh, I want to grow all these different types of vegetables. And, how about I have 10 at least of each of these vegetable plants? Like, whoa.
She's saying that because I built like 20 tomato plants.
Yeah, and then, so it's ideally, you want to have a few plants, of each type of whatever you understand how much each plant will yield on its own. and then determine what its needs are, how much space it
Baby
needs.
steps.
Yes.
Exactly.
How much space it needs and
Incremental.
pruning it needs, and how much, fruit and vegetable you should get from one plant. And then when you're doing it like that, you're gonna be, thinking of your time and energy and the plant's needs. If you end up, too big with too many plants, then they're, that's a lot of work to tend to, and then they're gonna kind of like smother each other if they're too close together. If they get too leggy, they're not gonna produce as much. So, and grow the crops that you'll actually eat. Yes, very true.
I grow this crop called okra. I don't know if you guys have it over there, but I grow okra, and she hates my okra.
I do not.
And it's very good for you.
The way he describes it, he likes to make things not sound appetizing.
So there's a gel fiber produced in okra when you cook it. It's called mucilage.
And he loves that word when he talks about okra.
Well, it's the same thing like when you wet, what are they called? Chia seeds. It gets this gel. It's very good for you, fiber. And it captures carbohydrate or simple sugars, so it goes through the digestive tract. And
it's just
really
like he was when we were dating, he was drinking this green juice he would make for himself, and he called it swamp juice. Would you want some of my swamp juice? Like
tasted like a swamp. But I like the swamps, man. Anyway, so I don't mind the taste of swamp. So taking on too much, it will drive you nuts. It'll get you to the point of neglecting self-care because you're doing too many things. I mean, this is a recipe for disaster. You didn't plan properly. You overlooked your infrastructure needs. Can you imagine this? You don't take care of yourself because you're so stressed out about this because there's no maintenance being done or there's too much maintenance needs, and you did so many things at one time.
Oh, I was going to say, like with any of these things, like write a list of what could go wrong and then plan, for preventing.
All right, one thing about taking on too much, and I see this all the time, and I hope it's not.
So the swamp juice is what won you over then?
Hey, man. That stuff's good for you.
Yeah, no, I just call it green juice. But anyway.
All right.
He's funny.
So an example, I'm going to move on after this. This is a quail related statement. Kelly and other quail people out there. Bill, maybe you've seen it online. And I don't know these people personally, and I'm hoping their planning is good and they're doing everything properly. But I do see occasionally somebody bragging about, oh, I got this gigantic hutch system with 300 quail. And I'm like, okay, great.
Like they started with?
Yeah, like they just got into owning quail, and the first step was they built this huge structure with all these animals, which is fine if they planned properly. But I'm like, wow, what if they hadn't not made any plans and they're just thinking this is going to work because they're going to have all this stuff all of a sudden. There's this abundance. We think we become wealthy when we have abundance. But this is not true. We get overwhelmed when we have abundance. So moving on, number 6, I know I said 5, but number 6 is important because that plays into it. Growing, because we deal with a lot of small businesses or people with small homesteads who are trying to sell some stuff, which is going into this last very important thing. Growing without a clear business plan, like a model, something you're going to be, what is your goal and what are you doing? What's your business plan? What's your business model and what are you doing? And that'll actually, if you're doing a business, that'll help you set to your initial plan to begin with and know what your goals are. Oh, I want to produce X amount of this for this reason. And what is important about your business is, well, I don't want to talk about that stuff quite yet. I'm going to say, well, understanding your target market. Hold on, let me get into the business thing later, or that part of the business thing in a little bit. Growing without a clear business plan, specifically not having a market, okay? Not having the end,
or being aware of one.
The receiver of your product. So I have all these chickens and I have all these eggs and they're free range and organic, or I have all this other product and all this goat soap or whatever it is I have. And I'm like, wow, great. And I got all this packaging and I did all this stuff in-house that looks good to me as a consumer, but I neglected to produce any consumers. I didn't advertise appropriately or develop a marketing plan, if all that makes sense. I wait at least a full year between adding new livestock types. I get them as hatching eggs or baby kits. Let me read. I have this on my iPad. It cuts off. Get them as hatching eggs or baby kits. Get comfortable with them before breeding and dispatching. That's a very good idea.
That is very good.
When I was in my 20s,
wise.
I did one new sport a year. I would like learn one new thing each year incrementally. Is there any aspect of homesteading that you were dreaming of to do in the future? Ostriches. Some kind of creature like this. Actually, she wants to get little miniature cows.
There's a lot of things that I want to do in the future. Yeah. That's like,
Your little mini cows? I would.
yeah, this is like, okay, we were talking with Kelly earlier today, bees, honeybees, that's like a huge topic. I think that would be really neat to do.
I mean, I like doing the education thing, and I like kids. I always say they're very important to me. So it'd be really nice at some point to have an outlet where families can come and the kids can have a happy day and learn something and have an experience to plant a seed.
Yeah, our thing is education. So everything that we do and would pursue would then be coupled with educating. I have bought a beehive and colony this week. Oh, that's so cool. Wow. You'll have to let us know how things go as
Netherlands honey. That's exotic. You can make a fortune over here if you ship that in. Of course, customs will kill you with it, but
I started with bees. Oh, wow.
That is awesome. And Kelly talked to me today about bees.
Yeah, which is...
This is very bee. That's awesome. We've talked about it would be nice to have bees.
Sounds amazing. Hello, Andy.
Oh, that's Andy. Andy Rabbit. He was here before.
Okay.
Hey, man. Thanks for dropping in. We're getting close to the end, but we're talking about number 6. I added a 6th one, growing without a clear business plan. So, yeah, the main thing I think a lot of people are doing when they're jumping into this, and because it's not hard to raise eggs or birds or rabbits or chickens.
Create the product.
It's not hard to create product.
Dutch honey.
Oh, that's right. Dutch honey. Honey.
Oh.
That's great.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's not hard to create product. It's not hard to create something. It's not even hard to make something that has value to another person.
I have a hard time catching you guys live, but I'm here tonight. Yes, thanks for stopping
thanks,
in.
Andy.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Yeah, we like having you guys in here to interact with. I really do appreciate it.
Yeah.
What's I asking about? It's easy to create a product. So you have your farm and you're thinking of, I want to sell eggs, I want to do this. It's easy to create a product.
And that's real quick. That's usually the most fun part is making the product.
It's easy to make a product that people desire without saturating the market because you're not 8 million in a saturated market. But there is a problem finding the person who's going to buy them, like finding your market, finding your customer.
It's a process.
Which is a process. I think understanding your target market is extremely important. Like this is simple business 101 stuff. I'm not going to go too deep into it. Doing your research, identifying your niche. Okay, like our niche isn't just quail, but it's like more of a full service thing. Like we do all this education and we're very interactive with people. I mean, a quail's a quail. It's a little bird. Anybody can raise it. It's not a big deal. Okay, but when we interact with people, we want the people to genuinely gain a skill, feel confident in their ability, and be pleased with their endeavor, whether they continue it or not. Most people do. See people all the time coming back.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. So we have a niche that we're working in, but understand your niche, understand what your value is in the market. What is your value? And that applies in a lot of areas in life. Like, what do you offer in the context that you're in? Like, what is my value here as dad or as family? What is my value here as employee? What is my value here as friend?
You're a unique individual. Every person is unique and has something to offer. And sometimes it takes some, figuring out, but you do have something. Yeah. Yeah,
so understanding, and that's basic stuff. But if you guys are thinking of selling something, I think that's really awesome. You should go for it. Andy, did you get your Quail ticket yet? He's in the Netherlands, man. He's got to fly all the way over. I guess people come from over there. And be passionate about it. That will sell. Yeah, it's true. People know. Yeah. People aren't stupid. You're right. Because they can tell when somebody's genuine or disingenuous.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard now with the internet because everybody's a scammer. You get so many scams and people are false. But when you meet in person and you're consistent, I mean, we do this all the time. You can go look back. We're pretty much the same. But when you see somebody in a consistent way, you're like, okay, so I'm understanding them.
Just talking about Andy Rabbit.
Okay. So, yeah, you can see somebody and you relate to them. And they're, because of their consistency and their personality, either you like them or you don't, and you work with them. Know them. If I know you, like you, and trust you, I'll do business with you, or I'll interact with you. And I don't just mean financial business. I'll exchange pleasantries. I'll talk to or engage with you because I like you.
And give
I know
you
you
my
and I
time.
trust you.
You're devoting your time to the person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that about sums it up.
Yeah.
Is that a wrap?
I think so. I mean, if anybody has any questions,
you know what? Let me get that game. I want to show them your sheep game.
Lowlands, yeah, it's
without
really
breaking
neat.
Everything.
And so I'm talking about Lowlands, the board game. Super pretty. We were talking about it earlier, and you have sheep, and you're trying to protect them from the water, and you build dikes together with your other play people in the game players, and you can choose to work together, or some people can kind of sabotage, but it's
a little sheep game. My wife and I are pretty
fun.
big nerds, and we play these board games all the time. They're a lot of fun. I got into games like these board games with my kids when they were, I guess, 6, 7.
Yeah, I guess so.
And they're complex games, but this is a little side thing, but I think it has to do with homesteading, because the homestead is a unit. It's a family. And this activity, like the board gaming that I did with my kids, it got them to think critically. They weren't, of course, sitting in front of a TV or in front of an iPhone, whatever it was. And it was a family interaction because you're interacting back and forth. And we used to play them all the time.
Like, yeah, it's wonderful as a family unit, but even if just for adults, sounds like fun. Yeah, it really does help you to think differently, like problem solve in a different way, strategize. Yeah, and
actually, so when I started, I don't want to talk about the games, but like I began to think I would understand things more clearly once I would start reading these goofy board game rules, and they're really thick and it's a lot of information. And I have this hard time focusing, but I began to focus and I started to retrain my brain to be able to focus, read, and learn efficiently and really, really well just from doing that.
There's been a couple comments that we missed.
Let me rub in here. We used to have game night every week when I was a kid. And you remember it. It was fun, man. Like I still remember playing Monopoly, which I don't like that game at all, but we had fun back then and we didn't have much of a choice.
Yeah.
What's it called again? I want to say the Sheepies.
It's called Lowlands.
It's a complex game. Like all these games are more complex than like, I guess, traditional American games.
There's a lot of different types of games,
but
varying levels of.
We talked about it earlier because it's set in the Netherlands, and I thought it's an interesting thing to share with you guys that she and I play these goofy board games pretty regularly instead of watching the TV. So we spend time together.
We try to play a board game with the kids after dinner every day. Just a small game, but it creates quality time. Yes, that's awesome.
That's really great.
Yeah.
And the kids will remember it.
Yeah.
And be like, consciously and unconsciously, they're going to say, my dad spent time with me. I was valuable to him. That's really important.
Yeah.
And people don't understand the impact of the time you spend or invest in other people. When you go up to a stranger and you simply smile and say hello, for me? You're doing this for me? I don't know you. Like it catches them because they're like, wow, that meant a lot. And so for a little kid, your child, they remember that. And they carry that with them like, oh yeah, my dad spent time with me. We did this thing. Whatever it is, as long as you're spending time. Yeah. That's important to me. That's why I said I like kids, because children, as we all know, are very impressionable. Their adult behavior and interpretation of relationship is formed in their childhood years. So it's important to me that kids are happy and confident. Simon Sinek, great content on knowing your why. Simon Sinek.
Sounds very familiar. Yes, we'll have to look that up.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. We'll have to look him up.
Yes. So, all right, guys. Well, anyway, sorry about the board game tangent, but...
Yeah. But anyway, if you guys, enjoy listening and the things that we talk about, feel free to like and subscribe.
I think there's 5 people already did that.
Well, if you're watching later.
Yeah, if you're new people, hit the old subby, because like it's a small channel, and our goal is to disseminate information and encourage people to do things. 2024 in the United States and in Western culture is all about sitting and like doing nothing. And
Yeah.
it's horrible. People can do so much. So we really hope you guys do well.
Yeah, thanks, Susan.
Oh yeah, thanks, Susan. I'm glad to see you. I hope you're well.
Yeah.
And you guys, I think it's time for me to clean up this place and go do whatever we're going to do. Maybe watch a show or something. I'd like to read my book.
Yeah, so everybody watching, I hope you have a wonderful day, evening, wherever you are when you're watching this. But yeah, thanks for stopping in. We really appreciate it. Thanks for your time, guys. Stay safe and enjoy. Thank
Thanks.
you.
Aw.
Thank you very much. The most enjoyable presentation tonight. Good night.
Thank you,
Thank
Steve.
you guys so much.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Thanks, Andy. I'll see you, folks. Take care.
Bye.